What if the hottest housing market around Metro Detroit doesn't have sidewalks, doesn't have an HOA, and it might come with a tractor instead of a Starbucks? Because right now, some of the most interesting moves in Michigan, they're not happening in the big suburbs anymore. They're happening out in the thumb. In most places, buyers used to drive through, not move to. Have you ever thought to yourself, wish I could just have some space, a shop, maybe a few animals, and neighbors that I can't hear arguing anymore? Then this video might mess you up in the best way possible. If you're in the suburbs right now, maybe Macomb Township, Sterling Heights, Clinton Township, or in Chesterfield, and your life feels like traffic, tiny yards, and just constantly being surrounded, and you keep catching yourself scrolling listings in St. Clair County, Lapeer County, or even north in Sanilac County, thinking, could we actually move out there? You're in the right video. I'm Alex Klott, a Michigan realtor who lives and breathes this each and every day. I help families move from crowded suburbs to more land and more peace and more freedom without accidentally buying a money pit in the middle of nowhere. In this video, I'm going to walk you through why Michigan's rural housing market is quietly heating up, what buyers really mean when they say, we want the country, the must-have checklist to move rural without having to panic later, and how St. Clair, Lapeer, and Sanilac County all attract a different type of buyer. And stick with me until the end because I'm going to preview two deep dives that I have upcoming. One on the top areas to build a barn-dominium in Michigan, and the other is what type of animals can I have on my land in Michigan? If that sounds like your type of content, tap subscribe, hit that like button so YouTube knows that this stuff actually matters, and let's go beyond the suburbs. Why are people leaving the suburbs? Well, most people don't just wake up one day and say, let's go to Sanilac County and buy 10 acres. Usually it starts with a feeling. You notice that maybe your kids, they just have nowhere to run. Maybe the dog is doing laps on a postage stamp backyard. It's just not efficient. Maybe you're just driving 20 minutes to find a patch of grass that isn't a soccer field. Or maybe it's money. You look at the price of a normal 2,000 square foot house on one of the tiny lots in the suburbs. And then you see a home on maybe 2, 5, or even 10 acres in St. Clair or Lapeer County for something close to that price. Now your brain starts to do the math. Why are we paying this much to look at our neighbor's vinyl siding? And then there's freedom. No HOA letters about your truck, no drama about the trailers, boats, or your grass is a 1/4 inch too tall. You start dreaming about a shop, a pole barn, maybe a barn-dominium, maybe a few chickens or goats. And then all of a sudden, that drive out towards Emmett, Yale, Croswell, it doesn't feel so far. So the emotional drivers are pretty simple. More space, privacy, and more freedom. A chance to reset your pace of life. But here's where people, they get into trouble. They treat that rural move just like they're buying a bigger house. But it's not the same game. And if you get it wrong, you could end up hating that lifestyle that you once thought you really, really wanted. So let's talk about what's actually happening in Michigan's emerging rural market, especially here in the thumb. And then I'll give you the must-have checklist that keeps you out of trouble. When we say rural Michigan housing, a lot of people picture an abandoned farmhouse with peeling paint and a scary basement. Well, reality check, that still exists, but that's not the whole story. And in St. Clair, Lapeer, and Sanilac counties, the market has quietly turned into this mashup of classic farmhouses on big pieces of land, new construction on 1 to 5 acre parcels, barn-dominium style homes and big pole barns with living space, manufactured or modular homes on land, and then your traditional homes on larger lots just outside the small towns. You've got buyers from Macomb, Oakland, and even Wayne County who are totally okay with adding some drive time if that means a giant heated shop, a place to park the toys, room for animals, and a sky that you can actually see the stars. The trend isn't just move to the country. It's we want suburban comfort with rural freedom in a place that still feels within reach of our jobs, our schools, and our family. So the homes that move the fastest in this emerging rural market usually check boxes like decent commute flexibility, close to major freeways like 69, I-94, M19, or M53, usable land, so not just swamps or low spots that you can't do anything with, outbuildings, so people love pole barns or garages that are actually big enough for life. Updated enough, people will compromise on pretty if there's good bones and the land is right. When I talk to buyers who have done this right, moving from a typical Metro Detroit suburb to somewhere in the thumb, they almost always say all the time, we wish we would have done it sooner. And we wish someone would have warned us about a few things. So let's talk about those few things. Here's the must-have checklist for city folk going rural. If you get these right, you're going to absolutely love your decision. If you get them wrong, you're going to find yourself back on Zillow in 18 months. Checklist number 1 is internet and cell service. Now, you can live without a coffee shop on each corner, but in this decade, you cannot live without reliable internet. So before you even fall in love with the property, you need to know what internet options are available at that address. Is it cable? Is it fiber? Is it wireless? Or do they have satellite? What speeds do people realistically get? Not just the up to speeds that are on the marketing websites. If you work from home, if your kids are gamers, if you stream, everything. This is a deal breaker level issue. Checklist item number 2 are the roads, driveways, and winter reality. In the suburbs, you don't even think about who plows what. The city or the township, they just handle it. Out in Lapeer, St. Clair, and Sanilac, you do need to know, is your road paved, gravel, or dirt? Who plows that road in the winter? Who plows your driveway? And how long is that driveway? Because that dreamy tree-lined driveway looks a lot different at 6 a.m. with a snowblower. You're not just buying a house, you're buying a maintenance lifestyle. So be prepared. Checklist item number 3 are the utilities. Most rural homes are not on city water and sewer. You're in well and septic world. Plus sometimes propane instead of natural gas. So you need to be comfortable with getting the well and septic fully inspected and tested, understanding how the septic field truly works and how long they should last, knowing what it costs to fill the propane tank versus a natural gas bill. And here's the big one. Can the land support what you want to do long term? So if you're thinking more bedrooms, more animals, a future outbuilding, without overloading the well and septic, will it work? This is where having the right inspector and the right agent isn't just helpful, it's essential. Checklist item number 4 is the zoning, animals, and the can I have that question. So here's where people get burned. They move out to the country, they buy a few acres, and then they soon discover that they're not actually allowed to have the animals that they dreamed of. Or they can have animals, but only a certain number. Or there's certain types. Or there are certain setbacks for what you want to do. So if you're already thinking things like, we want chickens and maybe a couple goats, we'd love to get a horse or 3, can I run a small hobby shop or kennel out here? You do need to know this. What is the zoning for that parcel? What does the township or county allow by right? What requires a special land use or a permit? And we're going to dive way deeper into this in a separate video called What Kind of Animals Can I Have on My Land Here in Michigan? And if that's something that you're already obsessing about, please hit that subscribe button because that video is coming soon. Checklist item number 5 is the daily life radius. How far is too far? Rural peace is amazing until you realize you're 45 minutes away from your kid's sports, your favorite grocery store, your doctor, and every kid your friend has. Before you buy, you should literally map out work commutes, school and bus routes, the closest grocery store, pharmacy, hospital, how often your kids will be in town for activities. If you're okay with more drive time because you gained peace and space, great. But if everything in your life is still centered around your old suburb, you might want to pull in closer to a town hub like Imlay City, Sandusky, Yale, or Marysville, instead of going way off the grid. Now let's take a mini tour and find out which county fits who. You're not just choosing land, you're choosing a lifestyle flavor. So let's break down the 3 big players: St. Clair County, Lapeer County, and Sanilac County. First up on the list is St. Clair County. St. Clair County is like country life with training wheels. You've got the St. Clair River and the Lake Huron influence near Marysville, St. Clair, and Port Huron. You've got farm and open land near Riley, Emmett, Kimball, and China Township. 94 and 69 access that still keeps you connected to Macomb and Oakland County jobs. And if you're thinking, well, we still need to commute, but we want land, a barn, and a lot less chaos. Well, St. Clair will be a really good fit for you. You could find homes on a couple of acres with decent outbuildings, hobby farm style properties, enough space for a shop and some animals without feeling completely out there. It's great country for buyers who want to ease out of the suburban life without doing a full off the map move. Number 2 on the list is Lapeer County. We got rolling land, horses, and room to breathe. Lapeer County has a very specific feel. It's a lot hillier in spots, and there's a lot of people with horses. There's a good mixture of old farmhouses with some newer builds on acreage. You got areas like Imlay City, Lapeer, Metamora, North Branch, and Dryden, where the common theme is people who want some land with contour, room for animals, and a little bit of elbow room from their neighbors, but still close enough to 69. So some commuters, they do think it's workable, but the vibe here is more, we're ready to commit to the rural life. We want the space, we want the barn and maybe horses, and we're okay trading a little bit of convenience just to get it. This is also a county where barn dominiums and big pole barns just make a ton of sense. And I've got a whole video coming up on the top areas to build a barn dominium here in Michigan. And you can bet Lapeer County is on that list. Number 3 on the list is Sanilac County. It's true rural living with Lake Huron vibes. Sanilac County is where a lot of people go when they're ready to fully commit to moving out there. You've got Lake Huron shoreline spots like Lexington and Port Sanilac with the cottage town feel, and you have farm country in and around Sandusky, Marlette, Croswell, Peck, and Brown City, and all the back roads in between. Here you're trading some convenience and commute sanity for true rural space. If you've ever said, I want land, a barn, and maybe a small farm, and I don't mind driving into town when I need to, Sanilac might be your place. It's also a county where you see a lot of creative property use, hobby farms, small-scale homesteads, people raising animals, folks with cereal shops and barns. And again, that's why we're dedicating a full video to what kind of animals can I have on my land in Michigan. Because this is where those dreams tend to land. Now, who is rural living not for? Let's be real for a second. I love rural living. I help people do it all the time. It's awesome to see them finally accomplish their goals. But it's absolutely not for everybody. If you hate driving more, you need DoorDash or Target within 10 minutes, you want perfectly plowed roads all the time, you can't stand the idea of well, septic, gravel, or propane, you might be in love with the idea of the country, but not the actual lifestyle. I always tell my clients, don't drag your family to a life you love on Instagram, but hate in real life. If your kids are very social, deeply tied into activities in your current town, and all your work and community is still in the suburbs, you really need to think through how many nights a week are we going to be driving back to town? Are we okay with that long term? Are we moving towards something? Or are we just running away from something? The buyers who love their rural move the most are the ones who they ran the numbers, they tested the drive, they talked about the lifestyle honestly as a family, and used the must-have checklist. Instead of just emotions, if you do that, living in the thumb can feel like you've been cheating yourself, staying sandwiched between neighbors for this long. How to start exploring the thumb. So if you're still watching this, chances are you're at least a thumb curious. And here's how I'd start. Whether you choose to ever call me or not. Step 1 is to pick your primary anchor. Is it your job, your kids' schools, your extended family? Circle that on the map first. Step 2 is decide your comfort radius. Is 30 minutes okay? 40? 60? Be honest, not optimistic. Step 3 is to do a weekend test run. Drive somewhere to like Yale, Imlay City, Lexington, and get lunch. Drive the back roads, talk as a family, and ask yourselves, can we see ourselves out here? Step 4 is to run the checklist on any property you love. Ask yourself, what's the internet, the road and driveway reality, well, septic, propane, zoning and animals, and the daily life radius. Step 5 is to start a non-negotiable board. Literally list, we must have X acres. We must have at least this kind of outbuilding or barn. We must have decent internet. Then rank them from most important to least important. Price will make you compromise somewhere, so decide where you're flexible before you see the dream property. If you want me to do a full video where we actually pull up rural listings and break them down, what's good, what's risky, and what I'd flag as a local, drop a live rural breakdown in the comments below. I'll know what you mean. We just laid the groundwork for Michigan's emerging rural housing market, especially in St. Clair, Lapeer, and Sanilac counties. But there are two topics that people moving to the country will not stop asking me about. Number 1, where are the best places to build a barn-dominium in Michigan? We're going to be talking land, zoning, and practical realities, and why some of these areas are actually barn-do friendly while others are just a headache. And then number 2 is what kind of animals can I actually have on my property here in Michigan? What's realistic, what's allowed, and what gets you the nasty letter from the township? Because we want to prevent those. Those will be their own deep dive videos, and they're going to be paired perfectly with this one. So if you're thinking we want land, a barn, and animals, but we don't want to make an expensive mistake, you're going to want to watch those in order. Make sure you're subscribed, your notifications are turned on so that you don't miss it. And in the comments, tell me, which county are you most curious about? Is it St. Clair, Lapeer, or Sanilac? What does your rural dream setup look like? That helps me shape those next videos and to know what you actually want, not just what sounds good in title. If you're still here, you're probably not just solo browsing, you're actually wondering if this is the kind of move that could change your family's life. My goal with this channel is to give you the real playbook for buying, for selling, and moving to Michigan, especially if you're looking to upgrade your lifestyle, not just your countertops. So hit like if this opened your eyes a bit. Share it with that friend who keeps saying, man, I just wish I had some land. And binge the videos I've got linked on screen and in the description once they're live, especially the ones on the barn-dominiums. It's one of the biggest questions I get. I'm Alex Clair. This is Beyond the Suburbs, and I'll see you in the thumb.